Hello, and thank you for watching this tutorial on how to read palms. This basic sort of palmistry how-to video will go over all the little steps that you need to read a person's palm for those that want to begin and learn the basics to palmistry. So the first step is to read the dominant hand. So the dominant hand is generally the hand a person writes with, points with, the hand that they move without thinking. And a dominant hand it will show the information as to what's going on right now in this person's life and future events. The passive hand will show information regarding a person's past, their inherent thoughts and their secrets and what they expected to happen. So the passive hand, which is the left for most people, is what you've been given, and the right hand, which is dominant for most people, is what you've made of what you've been given. The next step is to look at the shape of the hand and also to look at the fingers, anything that stands out. Compare the left hand to the right hand. Look for any differences and make notes. So with this person, their right hand, their heart line doubles in between the first and second finger, whereas it doesn't on the left hand. So it's important to find out which is the dominant hand, make a note of any changes. Sometimes people's finger lengths are different on left and right, and that also has profound keys and clues and information in as to how they've changed as a person. So with this person, the overall shape of their hand is long palm, long fingers. There are 4 basic categories, and there's many ways to determine a type, a hand type, but in the Greek way of doing things, the ancient Greek way, you look at the 4 basic types, and then there are subdivisions of those types and subdivisions of those subdivisions, if you like. But to get a basic idea as to who this person is and then filter through the more complex information through this template, you look at the overall hand shape, and then this person has a long palm, long fingers. That makes them a water palm, which is someone who is sensitive, creative, emotional, and intelligent. So once you've made a note of the differences from left to right hand, you found which is the dominant hand, you know which one is relevant as to past and future. You've looked at the overall shape of the palm and found out a rough template of who this person is. You then need to read the lines, the major palmar lines. And those are the heart line, head, and the lifeline. Now, a person's heart line that curves sharply up towards the Saturn finger, or the middle finger, is someone who can be quite easily preoccupied with the physical form, shall we say. Someone who is passionate, someone who has the potential to get jealous. A person whose heart line stretches right out onto Jupiter, let's make more of a curve here, is someone who is, let's say, outwardly affectionate. So they're quite vulnerable, I suppose. And someone who has a straight heart line is someone who keeps a tight rein on their emotions and they're able to make decisions without allowing their feelings to blur them. So gaps in a person's heart line represent heartbreak, lines flicking off. Well, let's say a line that comes down and crashes into the heart line is the heart, the emotions of this person relies on the decisions that the head needs to take over. This often represents disappointment. Lines coming through, it's a lack of focus, it's potential a flirtatious person as well. So that's just to give you a few basics with the heart line. And the headline runs from the thumb towards the outside of the palm. A person such as this, I mean, this is an excellent headline. A straight headline would be someone that Roman generals in ancient Rome would look for. They would literally look for a headline that they could rest a marble on, something that wouldn't roll. A headline as straight as this is someone who's very level-headed, a no-nonsense, logical, pragmatic, a lateral thinker, someone who's able to plan ahead and not let their emotions get the better of them. In ancient Rome, palmistry was common knowledge, especially among the elites and the aristocracy. I think also a headline that reaches across, all the way across the other side of the palm, is someone whose work affects many other people's lives. Their work will live long after they're gone. And you often see this with writers and politicians, these sorts of people. It should be said that a straight headline is also someone who is ambitious and focused in what it is they want to do. So a headline that's quite sort of wavy is someone who is unfocused and has a tendency to jump from one thing to another. If you chase two rabbits, you catch none. So a headline that curves down into the heel of Luna, where imagination is, it's often someone who is very creative, that has an ability to draw on inspiration, is artistic perhaps, but sometimes someone who can live in a fantasy that fantasizes, that isn't grounded. And sometimes people that have a headline that droop too low have suicidal tendencies, or at least have a tendency to become depressed because their mind is not as grounded. It lives and stems from a place of deep, dark waters, fantastic imaginative abilities, but also with that comes the possibility for dark, deep, negative and unrealistic thoughts. And that's the opposite to someone who has just a very sort of straight headline. A straight headline is rational and logical, no nonsense, whereas someone with a headline that droops down like this is someone who's very trusting, very open-minded and naive, I suppose. So it's about that balance, really. It's all about the balance in palmistry. And the third major palmar line is, of course, the lifeline, which again runs from the thumb side, generally runs down. Sometimes it wraps around the thumb, other times it leans away, and you can find a lifeline sometimes even reaching out towards Luna. A lifeline that wraps around the thumb generally shows someone who lives and dies in their native land, and a lifeline that reaches away with someone who will die not in their native land, often someone who moves a long distance and starts a life elsewhere. So a deep, strong lifeline, such as this one here, is someone who is enthusiastic about life and wishes to do well in life, I suppose, to reach their potential. A shallow, a faint lifeline is someone who is lacking, I suppose, in ambition. And I think often, I see this really often, the length of a lifeline has no bearing on a person's length of life. And then there are other lines, of course, which are arguably just as important. So you have here the career line, success lines, marriage lines, the family ring, and sometimes the Mercury line, and the Mars line, which runs just on the inside of the lifeline. And these all represent very different things. So the career line, let's go over the first one, is sometimes known as the fate line. Sometimes it's known as the money line. It runs from, sometimes it stems from the lifeline. Other times it stems from Luna, representing a career with an audience in the creative field often. And most of the time it stems from the center of the palm and works its way up towards Saturn, the place of hard work, values, practicality, and administration, ability to action, plans, I suppose. And so a person who has a very straight and deep career line is a person who is focused in what they want to do, enjoys their job, and feels that they get a sense of the financial value from it equates to the work they're putting in. When you have someone who has a career line that's a little bit wavy, a little bit faint, with breaks in it, this is someone who doesn't enjoy their career. There are difficulties. They're not getting paid as much as they probably should for the work they're putting in. There may well be outside obstacles which are affecting their ability to work. And also, here's something to note. A career line, where the career line meets the headline, is roughly age 35. So that about draws us to a close. The last step is to then draw your conclusions. And I think it's important to note here that you should never draw your conclusions from one sign alone. If you think you see a particular palmar marking, it's important to look for evidence in other lines, in other parts of the palm that also point towards that before drawing your conclusions. Never make a diagnosis or a conclusion from one sign or symptom alone. And always remember that the road ahead is not certain, it's not set in stone. I mean, the major palmar lines, certainly the lifeline, the headline, and the heartline, are the most unchanging, but they do still change. As you can see with this person's heartline here, it does, in fact, there is a great change there. What we do in the present changes what will happen and our lines on our hands show us. They tell us this is what will happen if you keep doing what you're doing now. So if we change our diet, if we make drastic improvements to the way we live our lives, then so too will the changes ahead, and the lines on our hands will also make these drastic changes. And I've seen this happen many times. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed this video, this basic tutorial on how to read palms. In future videos, I'll go over the more the lesser major palmar lines, like the Mercury line, otherwise known as the health line, the Mars line, and the success line as well, or otherwise known as the Apollo line. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Please check out my playlist all about palmistry, and my Sunday case studies playlist as well. So every Sunday I will be doing a case study, having a look at people's palms, and revealing what I got wrong or right the following week. So yeah, thanks for watching.